During my senior year of college, and all throughout my winter and summer breaks from college, I worked at a local tattoo shop. Besides tattoos, we also sold body jewelry. I really liked the job. I felt cool because people thought I was cool for working there, and because my job was to convince them to buy way overpriced jewelry, which I happened to be good at. On this particular day, I was home for summer break after my freshman year of college, and I was working at the tattoo shop one afternoon. My brother was graduating from middle school that day, and I was waiting for my shift to end and for my parents to come pick me up to go to the ceremony. During the summer, usually only one person worked a shift unless it was a Friday or Saturday night, since most people were out at the beach or doing outdoor activities. As my shift was ending, it suddenly became very busy, and I was scrambling to help all the various customers. An older guy came into the shop and asked for a business card. I handed him one and didn't pay him much attention. After all, he was walking away. I had already given him what he wanted, and he kept his head down, so I went back to helping the other customers. A few minutes later, the phone rang to my store, and I answered it.
Hello, this is Small Kitten. Thank you for calling the tattoo shop. How can I help you?
The voice on the other line told me that he was the man who had just stopped and asked for a business card. I immediately thought that was weird. Why didn't he just ask me whatever it was while he was here? But his next sentence cleared it up pretty quickly for me.
I was wondering if you'd like to go out with me sometime.
I said thank you, and that I was flattered, but I would have to decline, and I ended the conversation. I left to go meet with my parents and didn't think of it again. A few days later, I was working alone again when the phone rang, and I answered as always.
Hello, this is Small Kitten. Thank you for calling the tattoo shop. How can I help you?
And it was the same man from the other day, asking me out yet again. I again told him that it was very nice of him to ask me, but that I was not interested.
Well then I'll be waiting for you when you get off of work so I can rape you, you fucking bitch.
I didn't even know what to do. I hung up the phone and did my best not to start sobbing, as I was again working alone. Fortunately, because of the nature of my job, lots of really sweet but very scary looking people hung out around my shop, and my very tall, very dreadlocked, very facially pierced friend stood at my work with me all day while I called the police and my boss. I filed a police report, but there was really nothing anyone could do if I didn't see him actually do anything. Unfortunately, his face was hazy to me because he had approached me with his head down, and during a time when I attended to other customers. This guy continued to call and harass all of the female employees that worked at my shop for almost a year with sexual threats. Everyone was escorted to their car at the end of the night. By the end of the summer, I had regressed to wearing only baggy clothes and sweats with very little makeup, because I didn't want to attract any extra attention to myself. And even though this happened close to 10 years ago, I still don't feel comfortable wearing tight or revealing clothes. I'm 32. I've been tattooing for 12 years, and I've been working at this shop for the last 4 years here in Vegas. So we see crazy people all the time, but this guy takes the cake. This happened last summer. The day started off busy with a ton of new walk-in customers. I probably knocked out 4 or 5 small tattoos and one fairly large-sized back piece. Then the pace slowed down, which is fairly normal in a tattoo shop. So I hung out with the guys, eating tacos in drawing new tattoos to kill the time. Now, being a Las Vegas tattoo shop during the summer, we get a lot of drunk people poking their heads in and shouting some stupid phrases into the shop. Like, "Get inked up!" or "Tap me, bro!" And we just laugh and send them on their way. But after about 5 hours went by and no new clients coming in, I was going to pack up my machines and call it a day. But then this guy came in. He was a short, muscular guy with no shirt on, who I could tell was obviously buzzing. He wanted to get a name tattooed on his back. Julia was the name he wanted. Normally, I'd send somebody drunk away, but business was slow that day, so I figured I'd knock out this last tattoo, make a few extra bucks, and then go home. So I set up all of my stuff and quickly sketched out the name Julia on paper, and I showed the guy. He absolutely loved it. Said it's the best writing he's ever seen someone draw, which is no surprise since the other tattoos he had on him looked like they were done in someone's kitchen. So I put on the stencil and we got started. As a tattoo artist, we know tattoos take some time to do, so we like to strike up a conversation with our clients. I ask him what are his hobbies, and he mentioned he likes to rebuild cars, which was awesome because I did the same exact thing. I mentioned to him that I have a freshly painted 1989 Stingray Corvette, and I pointed to the car that was parked out front. Everything was going great. The tattoo took about 40 minutes, and then I wiped it up and told him to check it out in the mirror. This is where things took a turn for the worse. He looked in the mirror, and instantly his face went cold, and he got this fiery look in his eyes as he looked from his back directly back at me. I asked if there was a problem. He threw his hand in my face, pointed right at me, and shouted, "Jessica! I wanted Jessica!" I push his hand out of my face, and I say, "No, dude, you said Julia." He cut me off. "Don't tell me what I said." I wasn't going to argue with the guy, so I just said, "Dude, just pay me and leave." The guy refused to pay me and started getting physical with me. Since the tattoo was so small and easy, I just said, "Okay, you don't have to pay, and I messed up." I just wanted this guy to leave before it went any further, and the guy said, "This isn't about the money. You messed up my back for life." And he then went outside, and I took a breath of relief. I thought it was over. So I turned around and started cleaning my station, until I heard glass shatter. I quickly turned and saw this drunk idiot screaming at the top of his lungs the name Jessica. He was ramming his fist through my Corvette's windows. His hand and arm had glass in it, and the blood was dripping from his wounds. He began to smear his blood along the side of my car. I ran out there screaming at him that I was going to kill him, and before I got out of the door, he took off running. I called the police and filled out a report. They found the guy shortly after and arrested him. But to no surprise, he didn't have insurance to fix my car, so I had to fix it myself. I guess what I learned was to never tattoo someone drunk again. The story I'm about to share with you still makes me sick when I think about it. And it's been a few years since it's happened. I'm a girl in my early 20s. I had just turned 19 and decided to get a tattoo for my birthday. I've gone to tattoo shops before, and usually they were really cool looking with awesome people working there. But I wanted to try a new shop for this tattoo, so I found a random shop online and drove myself there. When I arrived, The shop wasn't anything fancy, and when I walked in, it didn't look as clean and kept up as the other shops that I've been to did. But I looked through the book of pictures of tattoos that this one artist had done, and they looked good to me. So against my instincts to find a different shop, I chose to get tattooed here. I should have listened to my gut. This tattoo artist just seemed kind of weird. He was a medium-sized guy with tattoos everywhere. Looked like he had prison tattoos. Anyways, I wanted a thigh tattoo, so I wore a skirt that day. I went to lay down on the chair, and the guy stopped me and told me I needed to take my skirt off because it would get in the way. Me knowing nothing about tattoos, I just said okay, and I got down to my underwear. He began to tattoo me. And when he wiped away the ink, he also kind of grazed my thigh. I didn't want to say anything and upset him and have him ruin my tattoo on purpose, so I kept my mouth shut. Finally, after some time, the tattoo was finished. It turned out pretty good, so I sat up, thanked him, and asked how much it was going to cost. And this is where my stomach starts hurting when I remember it. He stepped in close to me, grabbed my ass, and said maybe we can work something out. I'm a very small girl, and I felt completely terrified. I pulled away from him, and he grabbed my arm and pushed me up against a wall, and came in close and breathed heavily, and told me all the girls pay like this. I yelled stop, but it was only me and him in the shop. He then smelled my hair and touched my waist. As he did this, someone walked in and the bell on the door jingled. The guy let go of me, probably afraid of the guy seeing what he was doing to me. I grabbed my stuff and ran out of the tattoo shop. I never went to another tattoo shop again. Thank God for whoever that guy was who walked in. I don't know what would have happened to me if he didn't. I own my own small tattoo shop. I opened it several years ago. The story isn't about me though. The story is about Danny, my tattoo apprentice. Well, used to be. If you don't know what an apprentice is, it's basically someone who spends half the time learning the art of tattooing and half the time doing chores and running errands for the tattoo artists. So you'd always find Danny being the last one at the shop after we all went home, cleaning and straightening up our stations for the next day. We always messed with Danny and told him there was an urban legend about a ghost that was in the shop. The ghost of a woman who had a heart attack while getting a tattoo, and she died, which actually did happen. As she was dying, her last words that she could mumble out were,
My heart.
One night, Danny is cleaning the shop by himself. My phone rings. I answer. Danny is on the other line, frantic and terrified. I ask what's going on, and he spits out that he heard footsteps in the back of the shop. I told him his mind is playing tricks on him, and to finish cleaning up and lock up the shop. He's hesitant, but listens, and hangs up the phone. 20 minutes later, as I'm falling asleep, my phone rings again. Danny is calling. This time, I'm frustrated because I had just started falling asleep. I answer, What, Danny? As I was listening to what was said, my eyes opened wide and my heart started beating. When I answered, All I could hear, through static, were the words,
My heart. My heart. My heart.
I hung up the phone and called Danny back immediately. Danny answered this time. I told him what just happened, but Danny said he'd never called me. He said his phone was on the counter as he was taking out the trash. I told him, I think the ghost of the woman who died called me on your phone, Danny. Needless to say, Danny quit the next day.